Hey everybody, welcome back to Rusty Guns. So today I have for you another piece of World War II history. Today I'm going to walk you through this right here. This is the Fusil. It's a French MAS 36. Now this is an actual World War II rifle. It was one that was brought back by a soldier from World War II. It would have been the same soldier that I had a video of the P-38. So that soldier brought back that and this MAS 36. There are typically two types of MAS 36, Type 1 and Type 2. I'll go over those differences here in a little while. But here you go. We're just going to go through, and it'll be probably kind of a long video. So if you guys want to know a little bit about the history of the MAS 36 and to get some of the specifications, you're going to go to this time. Let's see, where am I going to put it? Right about right there. Okay, yeah, we'll do it right there. That time right there. If you want to see the rifle broken down, you're going to go to that time right there. And then if you want to see the reassembly of the rifle, you're going to go to that time right there. But anyway, let's go ahead and get it over to the workbench. Alright, so first off, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the differences between the Type 1 and Type 2. There's a lot of quick, easy ways to tell which one it is that you have. One of the things is Type 1s almost always have a serial number on the stock. And serial numbers located here. They're located there on the magazine well. It has serial numbers all over the place on it. Another quick, easy way to tell is the actual rear sight. On a Type 2, there will be a push button on the side, and the rear sight is notched out alongside here. With the Type 1, to move the sight, you simply push down on the rear sight, and it comes up like that. And then you're able to adjust it. So, two very simple, easy ways to tell which one you have, whether it's a Type 1 or Type 2. Now, you're going to see a lot of MASs in much better condition than this, and most of those are because they probably were not used during the war, and then they were imported in. This one is an actual World War II rifle. So nothing is going to be done to this rifle other than we're going to clean it up. We're going to make sure we get rid of any surface rust. We're going to lube everything up so that it's working nice and smoothly. And that's all we're doing to this rifle. Because, you can see it's got, the bangs and, the dents and everything in it from actually seeing time during the war. Now, one of the first things I'll do is I will go over this entire stock with a magnifying glass, looking for any small cracks or large cracks, or any kind of markings that the original soldier, French soldier who was issued this, maybe they put something in it, initials or something. But I'll go through and I'll check all of that. But let's go ahead and give you a little of history on the MAS. And it was produced. The MAS 36 was produced to use the new 7.5 millimeter round developed in France in 1924. It was bolt-action rifle modified Mauser type, but the bolt was designed to lock into the top behind the body of the magazine. Basically what that means is the locking lugs are back in here. And so what ended up happening is they did that. Because of that, they angled the bolt handle so that it would be near the shooter's hand. Otherwise, this would be straight down back here behind the shooter's hand. So they angled this forward thinking that it would help the shooter be able to get to the bolt quicker. Because if you notice, most of the other bolts, they're kind of right along here, whereas this one is a little farther back, but at least it's over the shooter's hand. That's the reason for having a bent bolt handle like that. Let's see, what else? The magazines is a standard 5-round box type magazine right here. There is no manual safety anywhere on this gun. So, you know, they never put manual safeties on it. One of the reasons for that is the French always kept the no round chambered in the weapon. So, or the bolt was carried open. So basically, a round was never loaded unless they intend to actually shoot the gun or shoot someone. So, and there was a problem with that, and I'll show you that here in just a second. There are small numbers of these MASs that were made for paratroopers. They have folding stocks and they have a shorter barrel length. All right, so some of the specifications for it. The total length is 40.2 inches. So right there to there. The barrel length is 22.6. The weight is about 8.5 pounds, right around there. Like I said, it shoots a 7.5 millimeter. The rifling is 4 grooves on a left-hand twist. It is a bolt action, 5-round box. Muzzle velocity is right around 2,700 feet per second. So there's all the specifications on that and how you can tell whether you have a Type 1 or a Type 2 MAS 36 should you come across them. Now I've heard people say it shoots well and other people say it shoots poorly. It's probably pretty much depending on the rifle and the shooter, in my opinion, on those, because most bolt actions usually shoot pretty well, as long as the sights are lined up and everything. Typically, they all shoot pretty well. Oh, here's another quick way to tell Type 1 from Type 2. Type 1 has this type of front band with the sling mount. The Type 2 has like a ring on it that flaps back and forth. Now, this is not to say that some parts won't be used on either gun, but one of the fastest ways is this right here, because you can't change this rear sight piece. If that has notches in the side, it's a Type 2, period. No question about it. So it has all the serial numbers as Type 1s would have. Same way with a sight base mount. That's like a Type 1. However, this piece right here is the way a Type 2 is set up. And basically, if you can see down there at the bottom, how it has a little wing nut right here on it. Let me go ahead and pull this bolt open. See that little lug right off to the side there? That prevents this back piece from popping out. Because what would happen in the past is guys would be carrying these around, and if it hit a bump just right, or you bumped this on something, this would turn open and pop out, and then your gun's completely useless. So this one actually has the locking piece that you will see on many of the Type 2s. So this is probably an MAS that was a late run on the Type 1s, because it has they fixed the problem with this, but everything else is set up just like the Type 1s. So, you know, little variants, and that was common in World War II for guns to have different variants. Another piece that is common to have, now all these serial numbers match on this gun except for one, and that is the one that is on this right here, the bottom plate for the magazine well. It's the only number that doesn't match, and that's typical, because this is set up on just a simple push button system that locks that in right here on the side. So this getting lost and a soldier having to replace it, not uncommon at all. So, you know, I would expect to see something like this being lost and having to be replaced. But other than that, all the serial numbers to the gun match. So, easy way how I know that this is, you know, a Type 1 and a half, I guess, you know, because it's not a Type 2, but since it has this, it's not necessarily a Type 1 either. So it's about like a Type 1.5 or Type 1 3/4 or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go through and do my initial inspection on this. I'll set the camera up so you guys can see that, and we'll get into breaking it down right after that. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is just, like I said, just visually checking this and checking the stock, making sure that there are no cracks, large cracks or small cracks anywhere in the wood. For me, I have my old fingerprint magnifying glasses, so I'll just use those to do this with. Don't worry, I'll speed up the film so you guys don't see me doing this the whole time. Little one's got a better magnifier on it, but it's going to take me forever with that small one. This is also numbered number 31 right here. Now, a lot of times on the very first models, they will also have a piece right here that has been cut into the wood, a maker's mark. But like I said, since this one, it's not necessarily a pre-war, but probably one produced during the war and after they fixed the issue of this locking lug. And she is good. Nothing on the rear, nothing on the butt end. So let's flip her around. And let's check the front. Here. And it all looks good. So we'll get into breaking this down now. Okay, so you're here for breaking the gun down. First thing we're going to do is take the bolt out. So just bring it up and back and just squeeze the trigger and the bolt will slide out. So we'll go ahead and pull that bolt out. To disassemble the bolt on these, you're just going to push in and turn clockwise on these. That is how these are supposed to come apart. There it goes. And it's got a hefty spring on it. And that'll drop out your firing pin. And that's basically the bolt disassembled pretty much. So we'll set those off to the side. And then we're going to remove our bands up here and remove the wood off of the stock. Okay, so to take these flathead screws out up here in the top, they're designed with a certain type of screwdriver. They're not just a typical flathead. They are like this. Okay, so if you don't have one, which I don't have one right here that fits that perfectly, you'll have to take a normal flathead screwdriver and you'll have to modify it to make one of these so that it will fit. So let me go ahead and do that real quick and I'll be right back. All right, and we'll go ahead and pull the front cap off. There's the stacking hook for it. And like I said, those screw heads, as you can see, they're kind of notched out along the side there for that particular type of tool. I had one that fit the very front one, but the back one I actually had to make one for because I didn't have one that wide, but not a problem. Got that done. I'll go ahead and remove the wood now as gently as possible. Bottom piece just wants to come off. So that's fine. You just want to come off there, I will let you. Top one's being a little more stubborn, and that's alright. We'll take our time. Here we go. So you guys see the inside. So these are fitted right up against the barrel everywhere except for this back end where there's a little bit of more it's relieved a little bit more in the back. Other than that, you can see even by the black right there that it fits right up on the barrel. Got a VC mark in here, and that looks like everything. Oh, I never showed you guys the bayonet on it. There is bayonet on the front end. It is a cruciform bayonet, and it is pointed. On the Mosins, these are typically flat to be a screwdriver head to be able to work on the gun. These are pointed, and they just simply go right back into the spot where it came out of, and they're locked in place. It has a little button right here that you push on, right there. You push on, releases it. Same way when you put it back in, it'll lock in until you push the button right here. So there you go, bayonet. Let's go ahead and set these off to the side. I'll come back to them later. So now we have everything. I'm going to go ahead and do a look up the barrel. Alright. Now I am going to hook up my endoscope camera, and we're going to run it up the barrel, and I'm going to show you guys the video of that. And the French apparently liked the Russians, how they used metal buttstock. So nice stiff piece of metal right on the buttstock. We'll take that off in a minute too. And then here we have our trigger group. You can see we've got some rust buildup along here, which is common from where the wood meets up with it. If the wood gets wet, it makes contact with the metal and you start to develop rust in those areas. But other than that, everything looks to be in good working condition. We're just going to clean it all up now, and we'll come back and put it back together, because this is pretty much it. I mean, I can take some of these other parts out. I can take the trigger out, but I've got to just start driving all these pins, and there's no reason for me to do that when I'm able to reach everything exactly where it is. So make sure I can make sure everything moves freely, which it does. So yep. What kind of barrel is that? Cannot. It appears to be a wedged in barrel. And now this one's right here. We have MAS 1940 on the barrel. We got MAS, MLE 1936 and then 1940. So, like I was saying, this is probably a Type 1.5, probably produced around 1940, using Type 1 parts. The receiver and everything, but the barrel lug here from a Type 2. So after the war had already started, and they needed to correct this problem of these accidentally popping out on people. So now that that makes a whole lot more sense now that I can see this marker right here that says MAS 1940. Makes a lot more sense. All right, let me get to cleaning and then we'll come back. Okay, so we'll get to cleaning here, and using my favorite tools, the old toothbrush, and then got a whole box of Q-tips right here that we'll use as well. But like I said, the main thing we're trying to do is just break off the surface rust. Using a soft bristled toothbrush, nothing real hard or too abrasive for this gun. A little bit of this already. Got some cotton balls from up here. Yeah. A lot of dirt. A lot of rust. So that's part of it. I mean, it's an older gun. We want to make sure that it's going to be around for a long time. So we do what we can. I might have a couple spots where that rust is starting to really get down in the middle, and I may hit it with a little bit of really fine steel wool just to knock it down. But alright, let me get to cleaning, and I will come back when I've got it all done, because this is going to take a while. And I don't think you really want to watch me do it. Alright, so we pretty much got all of the pieces cleaned up, and I'm just going to show you guys real quick the amount of gunk. So, and then I literally have a whole pile of it right here. So, but you know, this is something, it's about cleaning the gun up and preserving it. It's not about completely restoring it. So the gun just needs to be preserved. So we're just, like I said, we're getting rid of the dirt, the carbon, and getting rid of surface rust. There is some rust that is set in and it's deep, and unless it was going to be given a full restoration, you know, I'm not going to mess with it, because for me it's an actual part of, you know, World War II history, because it literally is. It was carried by a French soldier at one time, and then picked up by an American soldier and brought back. So it's a definite part of World War II history, and I don't want to change the look of the gun the way it is. We're just cleaning it up and making it pretty, and going to get it all oiled up and functioning really, really good, so that if the person wants to take it out and shoot it, they're going to have no problem with shooting this gun at all. But let me go ahead and get ready to do the stock, and then after that we will be putting it all back together. But to show you some of the pieces, like there's the butt plate, there was the front band, the bolt, and there's actually a serial number on the inside right here. There's actually a serial number that sits right there, which also matches up with all the other serial numbers except for the one on the bottom of this plate for the magazine. But anyway, let me get to cleaning up that wood stock, and then we'll come back. Okay, so right before we get back to reassembly, I noticed on the bayonet, as I cleaned it, the number, this is actually serial number 2, or serial numbered also down here, and it actually matches the number that is on this plate. So you know, the bayonet and this bottom plate were actually you know, then put on this gun. So whether the soldier who brought it back found another one and took those parts off it to put onto this one, or it was done at a factory, I don't know. You know, my guess is it was done at a factory. I don't think the soldier would have actually done that, but you know, you never know. But anyway, the bayonet and the bottom plate for the magazine well have matching serial numbers. All of the rest of the serial numbers are matching serial numbers to the one that is on the buttstock. But anyway, all right, let's get to putting this back together. Okay, so we're ready to start reassembling. First thing I'm going to put back together is actually the bolt and the firing pin. And with everything I'm going to use, since the person is probably never going to use this gun, I'm going to give everything a generous amount of oil. If it was something that they were going to use often, I wouldn't use as much oil, but since this is probably going to be stored, we're going to use a generous amount of oil on everything. Make sure I get those locking nut lugs right. There we go. Alright. That's good. Okay, let's go ahead and reinstall the buttstock. Let's go ahead and oil up the trigger group. Again, because I know this isn't going to be getting used, I'm oiling it up extra for storage, not for use. We'll go ahead and put on the front. Put on the secondary band first. This is the one I had to make a modified tool for. And with all of these, it's a matter of just taking your time and putting it back together properly so that everything's tight. It feels tight. It feels like it could be a little tighter though. Don't want to go any more than that. Alright, front band. We'll put on our front end piece. Now this one actually drives through a little bit, so tap that down. And there it is on the other side. And see, I think what happened with this is somebody tried to disassemble this. Oops. Somebody tried to disassemble this, and what they ended up doing was stripping that front thread out. At least that's what it feels like. I can't say 100% for certain, but it's what it feels like. But it doesn't feel like it's grabbing on anything. But you know, that is what it is. All right. We'll reinstall the bolt here. Goes bang. We'll put our plate back in. We're going to put our butt plate on. It's actually very simple. It's actually very easy to disassemble and to reassemble. As far as taking the trigger down and stuff, it's a little more difficult than a Mosin. Not much, but everything else is actually very simple to do with this gun. Alright, put our bayonet back in. Do another function check. Make sure I did get everything correct. Alright, she is done, ready to go. I'll put a little bit of oil on the outside, shine it up a little bit, and I'll see you back here in a minute. Alright, so we're back. Everything's all assembled. Some of you may have been wondering about the trigger pull, so I'll go ahead and do that. As always, I'll do a couple of fast ones, and I'll do one with a long, slow trigger pull. 211. 211. So now we'll do one long, slow trigger pull, and we'll see what that comes out. 7.4. One more long, slow trigger pull. 7.8. And I pulled back a little much on that. It was about 7 again. But so around 7 if you're making that long trigger pull. If you're using a short trigger pull, it's pretty light. Alright, so there you go, guys. The MAS 36. This one, like I said, brought back from World War II by a U.S. soldier. So that's why we didn't do any major restoration work. It's going to be kept the way he brought it back. Couple of things that I noticed with it. You know, not all the serial numbers do match. There are only 2 parts that have a different serial number, and those serial numbers match, and that is on the bottom plate to the magazine and the bayonet have matching serial numbers. All of the rest of the serial numbers all match the stock. So it's all pretty much put together. It is, like I said, it's kind of like a type 1.5, because all the major parts are type 1s, except for that back lug right here on the bolt, which is a Type 2. So, you know, there's always different variations and modifications from World War II rifles. It's not uncommon to see it, especially in places like France, Italy, or whatever. It's very common. So the one thing I'm not sure about is this whole handle right here part. Most of the time when I see people fire this, they're on the gun like this, and then head comes way up, and then back down, head way up, back down. Actually, I think the preferred method, if you were going to be using this on a constant basis, I'm going to turn the gun at you, so don't be afraid, but if you were on the gun like this and you're up close, you necessarily wouldn't want to pick your head up to bring the bolt back. I think that's a lot of wasted movement. I think the best thing to do would be here, and then bring your head just slightly to the side, let the bolt come back, and then come back down again. And you know, you're right back here versus coming way up to do this, to let the bolt come out of the, you know, to get your face out of the way of the bolt. You know, this is the most common thing I see people do, and I think the best method would just be to bring your head slightly to one side and then come back. You know, but that's just me. But anyway, tell me what you think, guys. You know, like it, don't like it, whatever. But anyway, actual piece of World War II history once again here at Rusty Guns. I always love getting guns like this because you actually get to hold a piece of history in your hands, and it's pretty awesome. But anyway, thanks a lot for joining me, guys. Take care, and I'll see you next time. God bless.